Welcome to our instructional video describing the Comply Desktop Calendar tab. The Calendar tab encompasses one of the core features of Comply: what clients are scheduled, when they are scheduled, and where they are scheduled. Specifically, the Calendar tab provides a graphical display of appointments by day for a given month, allows you to view all clients for a selected date or see a test location summary for that date, filter the display by divisions, officers, or test locations. You can edit appointments for one or more clients at a time. You can change those testing times, reschedule the testing date, or delete appointments. The desktop calendar grid is comprised of three panels: the selection and filter panel at the very top, the detailed clients grid in the middle, and the graphical calendar at the bottom. Let's look at each of these three panels in turn. The selection and filter panel shows the selected calendar date, the number of selected clients, which we'll talk about in a little while, and three drop-down lists that allow you to filter the calendar date by divisional office, or supervising officer, or test location, or any combination thereof. Let's give an example of how to filter this screen. We'll leave all the divisional offices selected, but let's suppose you're a supervising officer and you'd only like to see those clients for the officers that you supervise. If I'd like to filter for 3 officers who I supervise, I would first uncheck Select All and check Sierra, Sandra, and Blake. Click the Display button and you'll notice two things happen. The number of clients displayed in the graphical calendar is reduced to only those clients supervised by those 3 officers, and the detailed client grid shows those specific clients for those 3 officers. Let's take this one step further. Suppose I want to continue to filter the calendar not only for those 3 officers, but for a single test location. I'll drop down Test Location, uncheck Select All, and click Ely. Once again, I click Display, and now on the calendar I'm only looking at those clients who are assigned to the Ely test location for those 3 officers. If you'd like to reset the calendar tab to its original display, go to those drop-downs that you changed, click Select All, Test Locations, Select All, once again click Display, and now I'm back to my original view of all clients testing for the entire district on December 12th. One item of note: your selection of officers, for example, may only show you if your Comply administrator has limited you to only seeing your cases or only a handful of officers. If, for example, you're a supervising officer, your Comply administrator will determine which clients and thus which officers you're allowed to view in the desktop. Let's look at the client and test location grid in more detail. As we described in the previous section, the grid displays all of the clients testing for a selected date on the calendar. You can move from date to date on the calendar, and you'll see that the grid changes to reflect those clients testing on that date. The grid has a lot of columns. You can look at all of the columns or look at what columns are available by grabbing the horizontal scroll bar and slowly moving it to the right. You'll see appointment testing hours, the test location, supervising officer, division, gender, so on and so forth. For December 12th, there are over 1,500 clients scheduled, but I only see a few here. To view the additional clients, you'll see that we've broken the grid into display pages, 61 in this case. You can move from page to page with these VCR buttons, moving one page at a time, or grab the slider to jump to the middle or deepen the list. You can also scroll on an individual page by grabbing the vertical scroll bar. The number of rows displayed on any one page is controlled by the display rows value here, and the actual vertical height of the grid is controlled with the grid height value. If you change either of these values, click the Apply button to see the changes. Within the grid, you can sort by any column by clicking on the column name. By default, the client column is sorted in alphabetical order, but if I'd like to sort by phase, click on phase and you'll see all of the clients grouped together by phase. You can even do multi-column sorting. We cover more details about grids in the Comply desktop in a separate video. Besides looking at all of the individual clients for a given date, there's another sub-tab, Test Locations, that gives you a summary of the total number of clients testing at each location for the selected date, December 12th. You might notice from time to time that some of the locations are highlighted in pink. Don't let that alarm you. What that indicates is that the number of total clients testing on that date exceeds the maximum number of appointments typically allowed, but Comply does allow calendar administrators to overschedule certain locations by manually adding appointments at their discretion. Finally, let me show you a very useful feature from this grid. The PACTS numbers in the first column are actually colored blue, and this indicates that they're hyperlinks, such that if you click on a given client, their client profile will open in a separate browser tab. I can go back to the desktop, select a different client by clicking on the PACTS number, and that client opens in its own detailed tab. In this manner, you can move back and forth between browser tabs without losing your place in the original calendar. You can also tear away the calendar tabs, such as this, and put them on a second screen, for example. We'll go into more details about Tearaway calendar tabs and really making the most of your browser with Comply in a separate video. Moving on to the graphical calendar, there's not a whole lot I can add here, but let me just note a couple of the features and what's displayed here. Currently, December 12th is a selected date, and I move from date to date by clicking on it. You'll note that the current date, December 5th, when I'm recording this video, is highlighted in gold, and if there are any holiday dates entered into Comply, you'll see them labeled with a gold bar at the top of the date. You can move from month to month with these VCR buttons at the top of the calendar. If I'd like to look at November, click on the left VCR button, return to December, the right button, and moving on to January, the right button again. If you close and reopen the Comply desktop, it will return you to the month that you were last viewing, so be careful. When you close the Comply desktop and reopen it, say the following day, it will return you to the last month you looked at. So if you were last looking at November and it's now December, and you reopen the desktop and things don't look quite right, and sort of double check the month and move to the month that you want to view today. You can manually edit or delete appointments directly on the Calendar tab. We go into much more depth about manually managing appointments in another video, but let me give you a quick preview here. To go back to our previous example from the beginning of this video, let's filter this display for 3 officers for 1 test location. I'll drop down Officers, uncheck Select All, and check Sierra, Sandra, and Blake. I also want to filter for only Ely. Uncheck Select All, check Ely, click Display. Now I'm just looking at those 6 clients that are scheduled for Ely for December 12th. Let's say I want to reschedule them and move those appointments to December 14th. Ensure before you highlight your clients that the number of selected clients says 0 at the top. If you're not sure, always begin with the Deselect All button, so you're starting at 0. Because there can be multiple pages in this grid, and if you're rescheduling a number of clients, there may be clients selected on pages that you can't see, and you don't want to accidentally schedule them for the wrong date. So always start with Deselect All and confirm that the zero clients are selected. You can Control-click individual clients and you'll see the number increase. Or in this case, since I filtered for just those clients I want to reschedule, I can use the Select All button. Selects all clients in the grid, can confirm that those are 6, and now I can click the Edit Appointments button. A pop-up window displays showing those 6 clients, and I can move them from December 12th to December 14th. And just for fun of it, let's change their testing hours to 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I can optionally add a note, for example, rescheduling these clients due to staffing change. Everything looks good. I click OK. A confirmation pop-up displays, and I can see that the clients are no longer scheduled for the 12th, but if I look on the 14th, there are those 6 clients scheduled from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. If I'd like to delete appointments, again, start with Deselect All, just to be sure I'm starting at 0. Control-click, for example, 2 clients, and click the Delete Appointments button. You'll get a confirmation dialog asking you, are you sure? You say yes, and those 2 appointments are removed from this date. Finally, let's take a look at one other subtle feature that you see on the Calendar tab, and you'll actually find throughout the entire Comply desktop. You'll see little blue question mark icons scattered throughout the application. If you'd like more online help for a particular feature, click on the question mark that's closest to what you're trying to do, and a new tab will open with the context-sensitive help describing the tab or feature that you're looking at. You can tear away that tab, as we looked at earlier, and put it on another screen or move it to the left on the same screen so that you can follow any step-by-step instructions that you're looking for that particular function. To review, the Calendar tab provides a graphical display of appointments by day for a given month and allows you to view all clients for a selected date or see a location summary for that date, filter the display by divisions, officers, or test locations, or edit appointments. That is, change the testing times, reschedule the testing date, or delete appointments. Thank you for joining us today.